Christmas is always special. It's a season of peace. We seem to have some respite from the stress and trials and unrest of the year. But some don't experience an increase of peace at Christmas time. Why? Why do some people experience the peace of Christmas and others do not? Because we all have our problems. I think one of the main reasons why some experience this peace and some don't is because of what we focus on. What is our main focus? Those who enjoy the peace of Christmas and all the spurts of excitement that happen from Thanksgiving till to this day tend to be people who focus on family and decorations and the Christmas story, positive things. Think of the Christmas story. There is one bad character in it, but we hardly ever think of him. He doesn't receive our attention. We don't focus on him. King Herod the Great. He was the first to claim the title King of Israel for centuries, and he wasn't even Jewish. He married into a Jewish family, and through political intrigue, the Roman Empire made him king, kind of more of a puppet king. Why was he called great? Well, he built a magnificent temple in Jerusalem to replace the other one, and he extended the Temple Mount on which the temple was built. And there's huge stones, some that are 100 to almost 600 tons, 30, 40 feet above street level, to the point where today people just marvel and wonder how they would have stacked these. But he wasn't doing this for the glory of God. He was doing it as a display of his own personal power and the glory of his own kingdom. And he built numerous palaces. And get this, he built a palace on the Mediterranean banks. And he built a pool of fresh water 100 yards out into the salt water of the Mediterranean. He also built an amphitheater that seated 4,000 people in the Mediterranean. He built 2 fortress palaces, one on the northern edge of this mountain called Masada, and it had hot water pools and cold water pools, and yet basically it never rained out there in the desert. And this was up on top of a mountain. His prize jewel was what was called the Herodium, and that was in the Judean wilderness, very near Bethlehem. Now Herod the Great was a cruel man. He was jealous of his power and suspicious of people who were pretenders to the throne, even to the point that he murdered 3 of his own sons. And when Caesar Augustus, the Roman emperor, who ordered the census of Rome, and we heard of in the gospel, that caused Joseph to take his wife Mary from Nazareth to Bethlehem, when Caesar Augustus heard that King Herod had murdered his own sons, he said, "I'd rather be Herod's dog than Herod's son." People did not like this king, and he knew it. And he had a difficult ending in death and madness and convulsions, and he issued this decree that the day he died, a village in his kingdom should be chosen and everyone slaughtered in it. So somewhere in his kingdom, people would weep on the day he died. There's no evidence that that command was carried out. But King Herod is best known for his part in the Christmas story. He believed the traveling magi, the wise men, when they came to Jerusalem, telling him of news that there was this star that appeared, and it's a sign that there's a newborn king. Well, whether he really believed or just didn't want to take the chance, he got the Bible scholars in, and they said, yes, there's a prophesied Messiah that's supposed to come and save us. And he's supposed to be born in Bethlehem. Well, King Herod ordered that all male children from the age of 2 and younger in Bethlehem and the vicinity should be slaughtered. because he wasn't going to take any chances. And of course, we know that an angel appeared to Joseph in a dream, telling him, take your wife and the child and go to Egypt, because Herod wants his life. Yet, even though King Herod is part of the Christmas story, we usually don't think of him at all. Instead, we focus on what? We focus on angels and shepherds and Jesus and Mary and Joseph. We experience the peace and joy of Christmas because of what we focus on, the good things, rather than the one, not just bad apple, but rotten one. Others have a more difficult time, though, to focus on the good news because of the trials that might be in their life at this time. But for anyone who can focus on the positives, there is a peace and a joy, a consolation that comes. Maybe some of you have heard the story of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, one of America's greatest poets. From a middle-class family, fairly well-to-do, very intelligent, went to college, graduated at age 19. His college wanted him to open up a linguistics department. They sent him to Europe. He came back, became a professor. He went to church and found the girl he was going to marry. They got married, and then Harvard wanted to hire him. But first they sent him to Europe to do more studying of languages. And his wife went with him, but sadly she died from an illness in Rotterdam, so he came back to America alone to begin his professorship at Harvard. Very lonely man, but about 7 years later he married Frances Appleton, and they had 5 or 6 children. But in 1861, while he was napping, he heard his wife screaming. She was in the next room, and she was working with matches and wax, and something, her dress and other things caught fire. And Henry Wadsworth Longfellow ran into the room, grabbed a rug, tried to smother the flames, use his own body to smother the flames. But she was so badly burnt that she died the next morning. And Henry was also so badly burnt that he couldn't even make his wife's funeral. And because of the scarring, he began to grow a beard. But his sorrow was so severe, it just couldn't be hidden. Even to the point that he was concerned people might commit him to an asylum because he just had that kind of heaviness and sadness. Well, 1861 was also the beginning of the American Civil War. And in 1863, his oldest son wanted to enlist in the Union Army. And Henry Wadsworth Longfellow did not offer his blessing for this. His son went and enlisted anyway, and later that year, in November, his son received a near-fatal wound. They weren't sure if he was going to survive. And a few weeks later, on Christmas Day, 1863, he penned a poem that has become one of our favorite Christmas carols. I'm going to sing the first verse, try to, and then recite the other verses. And you'll hear how he begins focusing, like watch what he's focusing on. He focuses on the Christmas message, and peace comes. Then he focuses on the sorrows, and a heaviness, a darkness comes. And then he decides to focus on God and the Christmas message again. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. Till ringing, singing on its way, the world revolve from night to day. A voice, a chime, a chant sublime, of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow endured a lot of personal tragedy in his life. And in the midst of the American Civil War, he was seeing families divided and a lot of unrest in the nation. And yet, he was able to really try to focus on God and the Christmas message. And for him, night turned to day. Maybe some of us just naturally experience the joy and peace of Christmas, but I would say that's by God's grace. And then others of us have to put a lot more effort and an act of faith to really focus on the positives to be able to get to that place. But really, we should all be able to celebrate today in joy. It's a birthday, people. We're celebrating a birthday and the birth of a Savior who can deliver us from any sin we've ever committed and can help us overcome any difficulty that the world may send our way. And so, Merry Christmas to all. Let's not focus on the sorrows and the Herods in our lives. We all have them, but rather, let's focus on the positive things. The joyful angels, the faith-filled shepherds, the Holy Family. And when we focus on these things, this becomes then truly a blessed and even a merry Christmas.